I just couldn't do it. I wanted to die. I didn't want to do something that violent to myself. I thought I could do it, but it's a lot harder than it for me anyway. And I can't say that for everyone because it happens all the time.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, many millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough, and when we do talk about it, when we do our best, I presume, to listen, we're not very good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with survivors, in large part to help more people in more places hopefully feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. Now, if you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. I'd love to talk with you. hello@suicidenoted.com. You can learn more about this podcast by going to suicidenoted.com, or there's a lot of information wherever you listen to this podcast on Apple or Spotify. Oh, by the way, if you listen on Spotify, check out this week's poll. The national tour is only a few weeks away. We continue to raise money, tax deductible, of course. So if you have an interest and a means, we would love your help with that. We've got all kinds of expenses for both the tour and ways in which we can increase the impact and reach of the podcast and the relatively new live stream. So help us out if you can, but however you are involved or support or participate, I really appreciate it. Now you should know, and I don't want to sound at all conspiratorial here, but I think we're getting shadow banned on the major social media platforms. I'm not particularly surprised. I am somewhat disappointed. These spaces are not available, and these conversations continue to get silenced. And what I say, fuck that. Let's keep talking about it. Finally, we are talking about suicide here on the Suicide Noted podcast. My guests and I do not hold back. Please take that into account before you listen or as you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Jerry. Jerry lives in Texas, and he is a suicide attempt survivor. Jerry, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Where do you live, Jerry?
In Abilene, Texas.
How did we find each other? How do you know about me or this?
It might have been 2023. Maybe it's when I searched the word suicide in the podcast.
I'm glad you found it and you listened. So what's going on now that you recently reached out to talk?
I don't know. I'm going through a really rough patch again. I don't really have anyone I can just be completely honest with without, the threat of, police showing up at my door or shocking somebody that I don't want to do that to.
All right. Well, I appreciate you doing it. I appreciate you reaching out and connecting with me and talking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. You suicidal?
Yeah.
Have you tried in the past?
Yeah. 4 attempts going back to 2016.
How old are you?
55.
2016 was the first year in your, at whatever it is, mid 40s, mid to late 40s, whatever the math is.
Yeah, mid 40s.
Right. Up until then, ever suicidal? Ideate, that kind of thing?
No, I think I had a problem with depression though, going all the way back into my 20s.
How'd you deal with that? Because when you say I think I had a problem with depression, it sounds like maybe you didn't have a name for it. You were just struggling sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think I was very self-aware, so I would just write it out. But my family has a history of mental illness, and so the older I get, the more I realize that it kind of floats around in our family pretty extensively, really.
Fucking families, man.
Yeah.
Let's just jump into 2016 if you're cool with that. What leads up to your first attempt? And that's, that could go back to childhood, that could go whatever you want.
It actually might have been 2015. That's when I got a divorce, or when I was sued for divorce. So, and I just couldn't handle it. I wasn't doing very well at the time mentally, with the depression. That was just one too many things for me to handle. I was juggling a new job. I was really stretched thin in graduate school, and then the divorce came and I didn't know what to do. It was really awful. Anxiety, depression that overwhelmed me to the point where I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have any experience with mental health services
Hmm.
prior to that. So I didn't know who to call. I didn't know where I could go. Super familiar with all that now, but at that time, I really didn't know what I could do or how to get some help. It just overwhelmed me.
Was the separation or divorce like unexpected?
If I had been more, I don't know, self-aware, or if I had been in better mental state at the time, I could probably seen it coming and stopped long enough to, try to address it. But once it came and there was no stopping it.
Kids?
Yeah.
2 kids?
Two.
They grown up now?
Yeah, they're in college now.
Do you have a relationship with them?
No, I handled the divorce so poorly. I kept making mistakes and being angry and belligerent. It wrecked all that. That was 10 years ago. It's made these last 10 years pretty hard.
So that's got to be a tough pill. Yeah. So 2015, 2016, it comes to a head, obviously.
I had the attempt in 15, I guess. And then in 16, I couldn't handle it anymore and had a breakdown. And like I said, I didn't know how to get help exactly. All I could think of doing was calling my brother way out of state. I guess he could tell how serious it was. And so he drove down and stayed with me for a while in 16.
But that was after the attempt.
Yes, slightly after. Yeah.
If you can recall, of course, was there a reason why it was that particular day?
No, not that I can recall. I had extended, months of just out of control mental health, anxiety, depression, of the worst kind, the kind that, you can't really function.
In bed type thing?
Yeah. And just uncontrollable bouts of crying that I
Hmm.
couldn't control. It just got so bad that it was kind of impulsive. I guess I was thinking about it, but it got dark and I decided just to drive down to the river and brought my handgun with me and got out of the truck and sat down by the river. And this is something you'll probably hear me say more than once, but it's really, really hard for me to do that kind of violence to myself. I mean, I wanted to, it's just such a violent act. And I remember picturing what it would do to me. And I didn't want my kids to see that. The kids were in another town, but I don't know what I was thinking at the time. But, I thought of them and I didn't really want to do something that violent to myself, but I didn't really have any other means or other plans. So that was the plan at that very moment. I wound up calling my brother while I was doing that. And that kind of brought me down off the ledge and decided that it wasn't going to happen that night.
Didn't pull the trigger.
No.
Close, it sounds like.
I sent a couple of rounds into the river.
Okay. This is a weird question, but is that legal?
No,
You can't just shoot a river.
no, you can't do that in the city limits.
So you get off the ledge, proverbial ledge. Your brother comes around. I know you have a breakdown. When you say breakdown, not too long after, what's the difference of how you were describing sort of day in and day out effects of depression, anxiety, crying, and a breakdown?
One difference is that I wasn't actively suicidal. But I was out of control. I couldn't really talk to anyone. I was alone in a town where I didn't really know anyone. I had a breakdown. I needed to be in the hospital, instead of my brother coming down all that way. But I didn't know what hospitalization was like, or what would happen, or how to even let someone know that I needed help. All I knew was to call my brother and just kind of let him know how bad things were.
Yeah.
Once he got down there, I had to take like a week off of work.
Oh, I got the impression that you weren't working when you were talking about uncontrollable crying. You were able to work for most of that time.
Not really. I,
Hmm.
I would show up, but as far as interacting with people, I just stayed in my office and kept my head down and was,
Mm-hmm.
trying to hold it together.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing any real work. I wasn't functioning. Trying not to get fired.
So what happens after the breakdown? So do you go to a hospital?
No,
Does it end, or have you been in a breakdown mode for years?
I've been in a steady decline for 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, it
Yeah,
really
yeah. Like
is.
you're going down, and also, you know what I mean. Like heading and
In the
then
wrong direction. Yeah.
some might say, I mean, it's up your words, your life, sure, but also like then you don't know what to do about it. That to me is the really fucking dark shit. Well, you've tried stuff and it doesn't seem to work, and you're like, well, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah, I learned how hard it could be to find a counselor that will take insurance. May not be like that everywhere, but at that time and at that place, most of the counselors, they had either a big waiting list or they didn't take your specific kind of insurance or they didn't take insurance at all. And
So what do
what's even more difficult than that was trying to find a psychiatrist.
for your medication?
Yeah, for medication. They really didn't like at that time did not like to take insurance. They want to be paid cash.
I wonder how many people just that alone killed. How many people who couldn't get to a counselor, couldn't get medication, took their lives. I mean, let's just be
There's
honest about it.
no telling.
No telling. So how do you cope through this? And essentially, I mean, and I know there are several other attempts, but how do you not attempt? How do you fucking stay alive, Jerry?
That's a tough one. Yeah, I was in my mid 40s then, and I was a little more resilient than I am now. I guess it took a few months, and I started finding some support. I got a general practitioner agreed to take me in when she wasn't taking new patients at that time, but she let me come in. I found a girlfriend that was supportive. I made it more difficult on myself, and it had to be because a lot of my coping was drinking on and off.
Mm.
Sometimes I'd be able to go, and function for a while without it, but the drinking got worse and worse as the mental health and my anger. I really had trouble with the anger issues. That would cause me to binge drink quite a bit. Sometimes I would go see the doctor, go see the counselor. Sometimes it was pick up a case of beer. I didn't cope real well.
You do what you need to fucking do. And it makes sense. Drinking made sense, no?
Yeah,
I'm not saying in hindsight necessarily. I'm saying that.
right.
When's your second attempt?
The next three attempts are a little blurry
Okay.
on the timeline. I'm going to say 2021, maybe 22.
Rough patch, super rough patch, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
Methods? Same? Gun?
2 guns, 1 pill overdose. Going back to 2016. Once my brother got back home and he started, getting settled back in at home, some things happened there where he wound up killing himself in 16. Really difficult to rebound from that. The anxiety and depression was just eating my lunch, and the drinking wasn't helping at that point. It had been going on too long. It got to the point where I couldn't function at work with my anxiety and my depression. Work was slipping. I was trying not to, I was trying to get better, but it just wasn't happening. And I felt so bad about my productivity and my effectiveness slipping that far that I just decided it was best if I let that job go.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was working for the DOT, the highway side of things. I just decided I couldn't do it anymore in the state I was in, and that's where the ideation started really hard and heavy. Struggling with that, what I thought was the realization that I couldn't really continue effectively at work. So the ideation, really got strong again. I just felt like there was nothing left for me to do. So I was making plans, to shoot myself again. I had this place picked out, and I was pretty determined too. I was really focused in. I decided I was gonna do it at this specific place, kind of a park area. I'd have to wait for my roommate to go to sleep, and then I'd get in my truck. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning and drive over there. But to my surprise, it kind of shocked me. There was already people at the park. That attempt got as far as driving to the park. But like I said, I was really not in a good place. I was really focused in on I just needed to end it. It just didn't work out because there were people there. That was a close one.
Think you would have done it if there were no one around?
There's a good chance, yeah.
Right. How long after? I know you don't remember a lot of it's blurry, but how long after do you have the third?
I think I want to say maybe 3-4 months later, I decided to take all my pills that were supposed to help me sleep. And I thought, well, this way I'll just, fall asleep in the bed and hopefully that'll be it. So I do that, drink a bunch of beer, down all the pills, and wait for something to happen. Yeah, it didn't take long, but I kind of lost control of my motor skills and barely made it to the bed. Woke up next morning, realized, it didn't work, but it did have an effect on my extremities. I can move them all, but they felt weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like I lost some motor skill or something. It was temporary. Yeah, it lasted another day. I had to stay home from work that day. I really couldn't walk very well or do much.
What's it like to want to die like that, and then you're just waking up and living your life?
It's kind of a bummer, Yeah, I didn't wake up happy that it didn't work.
Right. You wanted to die, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Because your life is exactly the same, essentially, other than slightly numbed fingers. So what happens after that?
So maybe 3, 4 months after that, I decide, well, I just need to find another spot to put the gun to my head. I got fixated on this one spot. I was like, there's a place right there by the parking lot. But, there's a single tree right there. You could park there anytime, day or night, and no one knows who you are. Then I noticed next to the spot I'd picked out was a sleeping clinic, where people go to get tested for sleeping disorders. And I thought to myself, well, I don't want to wake up all those people. Maybe I should find another spot.
You're such a
So I spent
sweet suicide attempt survivor.
I didn't want to wake them up. So I picked out another spot really close to the apartment that I could just walk over to. Kind of a big open area where you probably wouldn't wake anyone up. But again, it's really hard to do that kind of violence to yourself, even though I kind of prepped myself for that. And I'd even decided, that I needed to cock the hammer so that, very little pressure on the trigger would. And I did that. I cocked the hammer. Again, it's such a really violent thing. I decided against it. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to die. I didn't want to do something that violent to myself. I thought I could do it, but it's a lot harder than it for me anyway. And I can't say that for everyone because it happens all the time.
Yeah. Are you a man of faith?
I try to be, but I never have gotten the traction with that I would like to.
I ask that in part because I imagine that's a tricky thing to wrestle with too when you're considering ending your life.
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
Yeah. So when you had the gun on those occasions, would I see you shaking? Would I see you calm? What was that like?
The first one in 2016, I wouldn't say I was shaking, but I probably was shaking. My whole body was just racked with anxiety. But the other times they weren't like that. I was more calm. Yeah, I felt like I'd made a decision and I just needed to go through with it. And so I wasn't all that beside myself on those last 3 attempts.
Did you give yourself shit for not following through with it?
A little bit, yeah. And I kind of anticipated that I might not be able to. So I'd kind of tried to prep myself for that scenario where, okay, we've already talked about this in our head and we know what we need to do. And so I wasn't too hard on myself, but I was disappointed.
And that was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So what's life been like since? You said there's been if I remember correctly, a sort of steady decline. But you haven't tried again. So that's an interesting space to be existing in, I imagine. How are you getting through the days?
Not very well. Sleeping a lot. Just doing enough, answering enough emails that I don't get fired because I have a part-time job working from home. But I recently let them know that I just wasn't doing well again. And they know from an incident I had in 2023 where I had to be hospitalized that I have, these issues. And same thing. It was looking, like I might have to be hospitalized again or something. Just recently, I let them know that so they could maybe try to start looking for somebody to take over.
How many times have you been hospitalized?
Twice.
When was the first one?
2016, after my brother passed.
Okay. How was that experience?
It was good in that what was nice about the first one was I could just stop fighting everything and just turn it over to them. And that helped a lot. I calmed down once I realized, okay, you're going in the hospital now. And they told you how it's going to work. And it was helpful in that, I could just say, okay, I don't have to make any more decisions. Y'all are in charge. But I only stayed 3 days on that one. So it's not like I got a lot of help or it was just a place to be. The only bad thing about it is, at that time, the psychiatrist that was running that hospital, he was pretty well a jerk. So was the counselor that they had there. So that part wasn't that great, but I wasn't there long enough for it to matter.
And then the second time was the same place?
No, I moved back to my hometown a couple of years ago. And so I went to the one here. It's a psych hospital, but it's not affiliated with the medical hospital. It's just its own psych hospital. And I went to that one in 2023. That one, I thought the staff were a little better. The facilities were a little run down. It was crowded. The problem I had with this one was the psychiatrist that they had working on me. I really liked her, but in the end, I wound up getting over medicated. They wound up having to ship me over to the regular hospital to get tests to see what was wrong, and that all went bad. After I got over there to the regular medical hospital, I just lost patience with everybody and walked out of that one.
And then, and same year you find the podcast.
Yeah, around that time.
Yeah.
I think it was actually before the hospitalization is when I found it.
Does anybody know about your attempts? The ones with the gun kind of sound like they were really done in almost secret.
Yeah, they're secret. I've had counselors and psychiatrists. They always want to know if you've attempted before. So there's those people. Didn't go into any details really, but
What about your brother? Did he know about your first?
he knew about the first one, but he didn't live long enough to know about the other ones.
Did you have any clue that might happen? Was he struggling?
Not at first, but as things progressed, he started becoming kind of more erratic. There was a couple of times he said some strange things and had some strange ideas about how to pull himself out of that dark place he was in. He exhibited some of the classic signs where he actually started talking about it, what he was going to do, saying goodbye to people, and he was so far away that there wasn't really anything I could do except he would call me almost every day just to talk himself down, he wanted to talk. So whenever he called, I would indulge him. If it was all day, if it took all day on the phone, that's what I would do. That's part of the reason I reached out to you is because, I've kind of run out of people to talk to and I kind of need to get some things off my chest.
It'll be interesting. It's a podcast. People will hear this conversation and it's also a sort of interesting thing for them to hear about. So as we talk today, you said you're suicidal. So you think about it regularly?
Pretty constantly. It's exhausting.
I bet. Are you planning?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I am kind of planning. But at the same time, I'm trying some new things. I'm up and down about those two, whether it's even worth the effort or.
What are you trying?
I started ketamine injections this week.
Okay. Feel anything?
It gives you it gives you some pretty immediate relief from the ideation and some of the depression symptoms. They tell me it doesn't work that way for everybody, but I've gotten some relief from those things where they're not quite as intense as they were, but it hasn't shut them off. Maybe I was expecting too much from it.
Did you ever get a diagnosis that you think is right?
After all these years, no one really. A lot of the times I would go to a general practitioner. And then when I could get a psychiatrist, they just never really sat down and said, okay, this is exactly what you have. This is the diagnosis I made for you. What they do instead is just, okay, I want you to take these pills for a month and we'll get back together and see how they're working for you. But I think it's just major depression coupled with anxiety.
Do you take meds now for that?
I'm supposed to be. I haven't. I kind of threw up my hands recently and thought, I'm just wasting my time with these pills. But at the same time, I'm trying this ketamine to see if it would have any effect.
You haven't lost all hope.
Right.
Do you do is any part of your day not shitty? Are you able to do anything that helps even a little bit?
Not really.
What are your days like? I know you have a part-time job. What else do you do to get through the day?
Watch a lot of YouTube.
Any recommended channels for me or the audience?
Oh, not really. Not for this audience.
Hang on. This audience listens and watches all kinds of shit. They're not just only obsessed with suicide.
There's one guy that's interesting, but I can't remember the name of his channel.
Okay. The Interesting Guy channel.
Yeah. Yeah, he started off as a sobriety guy, talking about sobriety. Maybe in the same vein, he was also a mental health guy, talking about his mental health. He said he struggled with that for years, his mental health and his sobriety, having a rough go of it, but he got himself in shape, he got himself sober, doing real well. And all of a sudden, just recently on his channel, he came up with a cancer of the appendix. And now his channel's focused on chemo and trying to survive the cancer treatments.
You ever wish any of your attempts had worked?
Yeah, I wish the first one. I would wish that one had just happened.
About 10 years.
It saved me a lot of suffering.
Mm-hmm. So when's your birthday?
April.
So you got another year before you get to 56. You're planning before then?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see how I'm going to be able to turn this around. I've tried to set dates in the past and they were difficult. Setting a definite date just hasn't worked out.
Do you regularly listen to the podcast? My feelings won't be hurt either way.
It's pretty much a constant thing for me, the podcast, but in some ways, I use it as a way to just focus on what they're saying, and it helps me go to sleep if I can sleep. You've had so many interesting guests and really smart people that are quick-witted and have good vocabulary. And
some of them, sure. I don't discriminate either way. Everybody's got what they got. Be interesting to hear your own voice one day, going to sleep, and instead of somebody else, there you are, Jerry. Wonder if that might help you sleep. I don't think it would help me sleep.
No, a lot of your guests have mentioned that they don't like hearing their own voice, or
Right. Yeah.
I'm one
Yeah.
of those.
Any chance you would share it with your ex or your kids, just wanting them to know a way to do it without having a conversation that you may not want to have or can't have?
That's part of the motivation. I've had some really difficult months recently, and I thought, if I'm ever going to have a conversation with you and make it on the podcast, I better do it now. The kids ever want to know what the last 10 years have been like, maybe someone could let them know,
Mm-hmm.
where they could hear that.
They're in college. They will know how to find it pretty easily. They're pretty tech savvy, I'm sure. Is there more about the 10 years or the past 10 years you want them or anybody else to know?
I did a lot of stupid things in the past 10 years, made a lot of bad choices. Some of it related to alcohol, some of it just related to depression. And, depressed people don't make good choices. And generally, anxiety is so crippling. It knocks you off your feet. If it gets bad enough, it can really immobilize you and make it just nearly impossible to make decisions or good ones. Make any decision at all, much less a good one.
If you've heard the podcast, which you have, you know about the pink and purple pill.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a pill. Take it if you choose. Go to sleep. No pain. You die. No one knows it's a suicide. Would you take it?
Yeah, today I would.
What do you think you'd be thinking about as you swallow that thing and you swallow it, but you're not sleeping just yet?
I don't know. Right now, I'm just exhausted from the fight. I guess the fight would be over. I don't know that I would exactly take it today, but I would want the pill.
You're going to keep it around?
No, for sure. Yeah, I would want it. Mm-hmm.
If you did take that pill and you can make it any flavor, it's the last thing you're going to taste. What flavor would it be?
Maybe orange.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Like a Tic Tac or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is like times 1,000. This is going to be the most fucking orange you've ever tasted. It's like whatever you want, you could just imagine it, and that's the exact level of succulence. Are there any myths or misconceptions you want to dispel about fighting the fight, trying to end your life, depression, anxiety, loss? You've lost your brother, you lost your kids in some sense, right? I know there's obviously they're still alive, but you don't have a relationship with them, your ex.
That's right. I don't know. I guess I know that when I got out of the hospital in 2023, I generally don't post on Facebook or anything, but I did post in this mental health group. And I said the struggle's real because I felt it. I mean, you don't go to the psych hospital just because feeling out of sorts. With me anyway, it's a last resort and it's rough. It is difficult to make that decision. And if you made it on your own, I would just say the struggle's real. Some of the choices you make can make it easier or harder, but I think in general, we all do the best we can. Some of us are better at it than others.
Struggle is real, not the memoir title, Jerry. I'm mixing that. I like it. I don't love it. Last resort. Last resort in Texas. It's a little too catchy and clever, but that's appropriate. You know I like memoir titles, man.
I'm not much of a reader. No, I don't have one. I should have thought about that before I got on here, but
that's my job, Jerry. It's my job.
Okay.
You don't have to be a reader or even a writer. We're just doing one title. J-Dog in Texas. There are options. What else do you want to share, man?
Like you say at the end of the podcast, just do your best.
I do have one more question, which I don't actually typically ask, or not too often. And that is, particularly given like 2015 around then, really, your trajectory changed considerably. Is there something, whether in your control or not, that you think if it had happened differently, your life is different or really quite different? And maybe, who knows, maybe you're okay. And, maybe you're not in this space. Maybe you never looked for a podcast called
Right.
Maybe you're never in a hospital. Maybe. We don't know for sure, of course. Was it the divorce?
Yes. More than that, it was not being in the same house with my own kids on a constant basis. I just couldn't deal with that.
Yeah.
It was beyond anything I could picture, or I just didn't feel like I could tolerate it. I think my life might have taken a different trajectory if at that time I could have just quit the job that I was in that was not working for me. But instead, I had to make house payments, and that gets into the finances of everything. But if I could just have quit that job and been allowed to take a break and find one that suited me better, I think things would have turned out different.
Yeah, possibly, right? The what ifs, man.
Yeah, it's terrible. The what ifs.
Yeah, it can really drive someone 100%. Well, I appreciate you talking.
Well, thanks for having me.
You got it, man.
Keep up the good work.
I hope you do okay, man. Whatever that looks like.
All right, I appreciate it.
Hope your day doesn't suck, bro. Have a good one, Jay. Thanks again.
Good talking to you.
You too. Take care, man. As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. And special thanks to Jerry in Texas. Thank you, Jerry. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or ideator and you'd like to talk, I'd love to talk with you. Please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. Please check out all of our cool content on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. We would love your support there. And of course, if you have the interest and means to help us out financially with a tax-deductible donation, please visit givebutter.com/suicide noted. It will help us out with the tour, outsourcing the editing, transcribing and translating, and simply reaching more people in more places to hopefully help them feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. Thanks so much. And that is all for today's episode. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.